Hey, this is Jacob Lamb with Guitar Tricks. If you can believe it, 2025 is coming up, which is crazy to think about. Now, you might have a New Year's resolution, and it might be to learn the guitar. So, I want to help you out here and look back and see what I would do if I were starting guitar from the beginning. We've got 8 tips here, and we're going to spend just a minute on each of them to get you set up. You've got a path, a game plan to become the best guitarist you can be this year. Now, before we get started, check out the link in the description of this video. You're going to get a free Ultimate Guitar Guide ebook, including an essential chord chart, a super simple practice routine, and a ton more. There are also links to other useful guitar learning tools, so especially if you're a beginner, those things are going to help you a ton. But let's jump into those 8 tips together. Now, the first tip is also the most boring, but I've been playing guitar for over 20 years, and man, I wish I focused on this more at the beginning. It will make or break how easy this all is for you to pick up. It's proper left and right hand technique. Now, we're going to cover it really quickly. In the left fretting hand, we want to make sure to get a good, clear connection with the string and the fret. So here's what we do. Press with the tip of your finger rather than the pad. Squeeze nice and hard. If you squeeze too soft, there's going to be buzzing. And play in this space between the frets, not too low, but nice and high. If we're playing with the pad of our finger really soft and too high on the fret, we're going to get this buzzing. If we play with the tip, squeeze, and move it down, we get a nice, clear note. The next thing we'll want to know is how to read something called a chord chart. When you see people play songs down here, what they're typically playing are chords, and they're just any 3 or more notes being played at the same time. Now, a chord chart is going to help us figure out these shapes in a really easy way. So, for example, we put the 6 strings of the guitar up with the thickest string on the left and the thinnest string on the right. Everywhere we see a dot is where we put our fingers. So, for example, we see 2 dots here, finger 1 and finger 2, both on the 2nd fret of the 5th and 4th string. That means I take finger 1 and 2, and I find the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and behind it, the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and I press them together. Now, these open circles at the top means we strum that string, but we don't need to press anything down on it. And all of a sudden, I've got a chord shape. You might also see some chords with X's at the top. That means that we skip that string altogether. We don't press anything down, we don't even strum it. So we might start this one strumming from the 4th string instead of the 6th string. Once you've got your technique down, the second thing you want to work on as a brand new guitarist is to get your open chords down. Now, some of the most famous are C, G, D, and E minor. You can play a ton of songs just with those chords. So let's look at the shapes. You've got a C chord, a G, a D, and an E minor. Now, with those 4 chords, you can already play a ton of pop and rock songs. Those are kind of your bread and butter of the open chords. But letters in the musical alphabet go from A to G, so that means that there are 7 lettered chords that you could learn, and we don't want to miss any of them. There's also something called major and minor chords, where major chords sound more happy, and minor chords tend to sound more sad. Each of these letters have a major and minor version, so learning these open chords is a great first step. Already you've got great technique, you know how to play chords. The next thing I'd cover are tabs. Now, tabs are infinitely easier than chords. They have 6 lines like the 6 strings of your guitar. The thickest, lowest, fattest string on the bottom, and the thin string on the top. Now, on each of these strings, you're going to find numbers, and that is just what fret to hit. So, for example, if I put a 3 right here, that would be my 3rd fret on string number 5. On my guitar, I can come to string 5 and count 1, 2, and 3. If I moved that 3 here to the 2nd string, I'd be playing the same 3rd fret, but on string number 2. Sometimes you might see numbers on top of each other. That just means we're playing them at the exact same time. So if I saw this, I'd be looking for my 2nd fret on the 3rd string and my 3rd fret on the 2nd string. Tabs are hugely helpful to learn both chords and riffs in a song. Now, the final tip before we leave that brand new phase is to learn songs. Use those chords, use the tabs to play as many songs as you can. More songs you can play, the more fun you'll have. The more riffs you'll know, the more chord progressions you'll know. And each of those is like a tool in your musical tool belt that you just remember, you pull out, you have fun, you write better songs, you play better songs. Just play and have a bunch of fun doing it. Once we have all those things down, it's time to move into the next phase of learning the instrument, and we start that off with learning the names of the notes on the neck. This is enormously helpful down the road, but also helpful for some of the following techniques that we're going to learn just in this lesson. Now, the names of the open strings can be remembered with elephants and donkeys grow big ears, which is kind of funny, but also true. The really cool thing is that every one of those 7 letters we learned are 2 frets away from each other, except E to F and B to C. If we can remember that elephants and donkeys grow big ears, and that every note is 2 frets away except E to F and B to C, we automatically know all the notes on the neck of the guitar. Now, this might take a little practice to memorize, but we can certainly work through it now. For example, if I started on my 5th string, I know that's an A from elephants and donkeys. Then I just count up. If I'm looking for a B, I know that's 2 frets away. A to B. I know C is 1 fret away. D is 2 frets away. E is 2 frets away. F is 1 fret away. G is 2, and we're back to A. Now, we can do that on any single one of the strings. So, with those 2 rules, we've got that down already. The reason that's so important is to learn power and bar chords. Now, these are not unique shapes like the open chords we learned. These are one shape, and they're movable. If we know the names of the notes on the neck, we're really well set up to do these shapes, because whatever note we start these movable shapes from is the name of the chord. Let's learn the shapes and I'll show you what I mean. It can be a little confusing until we try it. This is our power chord shape right here. Now again, it's a movable shape, so I can start it from the 5th string. I could start it from the 5th string higher up. I could start it from the 6th string really low down. Whatever note I start this chord from is the name of it. So if I start from a G note, I'm playing a G power chord. This replaces both G and G minor chords. If I play a power chord shape starting from a C, that can replace both C major and C minor. Now, there is something that you're losing. The full open chords have a little more depth to them, but power chords are great in a pinch when you don't remember the chord shape. Now, hold on. You've just looked up chords to a song and you see something like this. Why is there a pound or a hashtag next to the chord? Well, that's called a sharp, and power chords help us solve that as well. Sharp just means that we're taking our chord and sliding it up by 1 fret. Remember, a lot of these notes are 2 frets away. but that means we're skipping a fret. That's where the sharps fit in. Between C and D is a C sharp. Between D and E is a D sharp. So again, if I'm playing a C power chord and I see that there's a C sharp chord that needs to be played, I don't move my power chord all the way up to D, I just move it up to C sharp. All of a sudden, with the power chord shape, we're able to play all of the sharp chords. Now, the last tip here is to learn rhythm. Rhythm is huge in your playing. Sometimes it's easier to recognize a song with no notes and perfect rhythm than it is to recognize a song with the right notes and different rhythm. In fact, rhythm is what makes so many songs different from one another. Mastering your rhythm is huge. Whether it's getting down transitions between chords, figuring out how many times to strum a chord, or how long to hold down a note in a riff, it's going to make you sound like you know exactly what you're doing in a song. A great way to practice your rhythm is to practice with a metronome or play along with the song that you're learning. So there's a roadmap to master your New Year's resolution and learn guitar. Now, for each of those things listed, Guitar Tricks is here to help you. We've got so many courses and lessons down in the description, and again, remember to click on the next screen, that Ultimate Beginner's Guide. It's going to get you exactly where you need to go learning your instrument. I am so excited that you're learning guitar this year, and I'll see you in the next lesson.